What's going on YouTube? Mr. Wheels here once again, welcoming you to another edition of Sports Talk, and this is a wrap-up video for the 2015 World Juniors. Just going to recap the bronze medal game first, and then the gold medal game between Canada and Russia. I wasn't going to come on here and do another video, given that I had just done a gold medal preview, but after the two exciting games we just had, I figured, why not? Might as well. So, first of all, I want to say that I was too late to do a bronze medal preview. The game was already on when I was doing a preview of the gold medal game, and be sure to click the annotation to check out my preview of the gold medal game. But I had turned the bronze medal game on right before I did my first video today, and Slovakia was ahead 2-1, and that really surprised me. I really did not expect Sweden to be trailing at all to Slovakia, but you got to give the Slovaks credit. Their turnaround in this tournament really started, in my opinion, with that win over the Czech Republic in the quarterfinals to face Canada again. And then it was 1-0 after the first period for Canada in the semifinal. And you could really see that the Slovaks, were really giving their best effort in the semifinal. And I knew they were going to be a handful for Sweden. But I got to point out that, again, noticeable for Sweden was the absence of point production from William Nylander and Oscar Lindblom, and that was a big difference in the bronze medal game for Sweden. They just, by the time I turned the bronze medal game on again, it was 2-2, but Slovakia was just, they had all the momentum, and hats off to them. I mean, they won the game, they deserved it. It's a big lift for Slovakian hockey, and you know what? I was more emotional watching the Slovak game than I was watching the Canadian game. And moving on to that gold medal game, I said it was going to be, I was partially right in my gold medal preview. I said it was going to be 5-4 for Canada in overtime, thinking that they would be the team down in regulation and coming back and tying it up and then eventually winning in overtime. But in fact, it was the Russians who almost pulled off the upset victory over Canada. I will say that, the Russians have nothing to be ashamed of. They gave the Canadians everything they could handle. There was 9 goals in the second period alone, and just to recap, it was 2-0, 2 minutes and 32 seconds into the game for Canada, and I didn't even turn the game on until 12 minutes left in the first period, and then the Russians came back and scored 3 goals in 3 minutes and 16 seconds. So I gotta say this. So Russian 316 means never count the Russians out, because they'll come just when you think you have them on the ropes, they'll come back and make a game of it. And that's exactly what they did in this game. And what can I say about Canada? I mean, everybody can make a big fuss over Connor McDavid. I think he's not even arguably the number 1 pick in this year's draft. He is the number 1 pick. He will be the number 1 pick in this year's draft. I was not impressed with the tournament that Jack Eichel had, or with Jack Eichel's play at all. Like, I've seen him play the last 2 years, and I don't think he's really anything special. But, Connor McDavid aside, where would Canada be without Sam Reinhart and Max Domi and countless other guys? Their entire defensive core, Zach Fucale, so don't think that Connor McDavid, it was all of Team Canada, because, he definitely played a role, but he wasn't he wasn't the focal point of this team. I would say Max Domi was, and rightfully so. He got one of Canada's top players for the tournament. I gotta say this gotta go back to Russia for a minute. I will say that, not only were they right in the game up until the end, I found their biggest mistake was, two things. In the third period, even though they started the third period on a power play that they didn't score on, a lot of individualism crept into their game, a lot of single man rushes, and the other thing I really noticed was throughout the game they tried to make that extra pass instead of making, one pass, second pass, and then shooting it. And I know there's coaches out there and people will say, well, you're always going to make that extra pass and set it up, but sometimes, that third pass can make it a little bit too cute, a little bit too pretty, and I thought that if you watch the Russian game, after that second pass that they made was the best time to shoot the puck, and they didn't, and, give Canada's defense a lot of credit. A guy like Joe Hicketts, undrafted, picked up by my favorite team, the Detroit Red Wings, got my Detroit shirt on. He's going to be a great defenseman. He was big in this game. All of Canada's defense was. They shut the Russians down, but I really thought that, the Russians just kind of, at the same time that Canada shut them down, the Russians forced it a little bit when they didn't need to, but, who am I to say what was what? I wasn't the one playing the game or under the pressure. It's just what I saw. So, guys, if you've stayed with me to this point, I'd ask you to, as always, give this video a like. Give a like for Canada. Go Canada, go. You can follow me on Twitter at Sledgehead86. And give my Facebook fan page a like, Mr. Wheels86. That's all I have for right now, guys. Hope you enjoyed the 2015 World Juniors. I know I did. And go Canada, go. See you next year in Helsinki, Finland. And I'll see